Today I'm going to give you a tool to help you find the exact kind of partner that you're looking for. I'm Martin. I've been a dating and relationship coach for over 17 years, and today we're going to talk about what's called a perfect girl desire statement. A big part of dating is finding someone who matches you, matches your lifestyle, matches your desired lifestyle. That is what really makes it a relationship easy or hard, is how much overlap, how much complementarity is there between the two of you. You know, some classic example would be, if you're a night person and she's a morning person, then that can create some conflict. Now this might be a minor one, but things like that, if you have a lot of them, then they can really make a relationship hard. So what we want to do is we want to identify what we're looking for early on. And a lot of guys neglect this. I mean, people neglect this. And so this process that we're going to talk about is something that, women can and should do also. So a perfect girl desire statement essentially starts with first making a list of all the things you don't want in a woman or in a man, if you're a woman or if you're gay. All the things you don't want in a woman. Oh wait, if you're a lesbian. Anyway, all the things you don't want in a woman. And you can go through your past dating experiences and friends. You could think about your friends' dating experiences, women they dated and things that were not good about them. You could think about your mom, your sister, your female friends and how they are, and just make as long a list as you possibly can about all the things that you don't want. But you have to make this specific, because a lot of times what guys say, they say something like, "Oh, I don't want a gold digger." And it's like, well, what is a gold digger? Okay, well, it's someone who's only interested in me for my money. Okay, right. Well, there's a big difference between someone who's only interested in you because of your money and someone who has a minimum standard or a minimum level for how much money you need to have, right? Those are two different things, right? Because one could be about security and another could be about her living some high-class lifestyle that she can show off about, right? See, those are very different things. And so you need to be very specific about what it is that you're trying to avoid, right? So if you're trying to avoid dating a woman who won't make you go broke and put you in debt, I think we can all agree that's a great idea. However, and women would agree it's a great idea too. However, a guy might put these all in the same category as a gold digger, and people would be, would look askance at that. Okay, so you got to look at, the real details. So for example, another guy, he might say, "Oh, I want a woman who is healthy." Well, that's really vague. Does that just mean she doesn't smoke? Or does that mean that she exercises regularly, like several times a week? Or does that just mean that she doesn't eat too much? What exactly does it mean? You need to really figure out when you say, "I want a woman," I don't want it, or in this case, you start with what you don't want. So I don't want a woman who is unhealthy. Then you need to think, well, okay, I don't want a woman who smokes. I don't want a woman who is overweight. I don't want a woman who eats junk food, whatever it is. I mean, it may not be all of those things. It may only be one of those things, maybe two, and maybe a bunch that I haven't thought about. But just as an example. So you need to make this list of all the things you don't want. I don't want a woman who is consistently late. Personally, I don't care about that. For me, it's totally fine. But for some guys, someone who's late, that's a big problem. So I don't want a woman who's bad with time. I don't want a woman who can't afford her own lifestyle. For example, this is also something I don't really particularly, care about that much. But anyway, I'm just throwing out some examples there. Now, after you've made this list, then you want to flip everything and say, okay, what do you want? So we started off with, I don't want a woman who smokes. I don't want a woman who's overweight. So you flip it over and say, okay, I want a woman who pays attention to her health and tries to live a healthy life and exercises regularly, for example. Or maybe you just write, I want a woman who looks good all the time. Maybe that's really what it is you're talking about when you say you want a healthy woman. It's not about health at all. Maybe it's just about her looking real fine. And so that's what you're really looking for. I want a woman who always makes sure she looks good and takes and has a fit body. You know, maybe that's really what you're saying you want. Okay, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's really about her, health, and maybe you should, I want a woman who regularly goes to the doctor and makes sure that, she's taking good care of her health so that she can live a long time. Maybe that's really what you're looking for, right? I don't know, you're you. So whatever it is that you're looking for. So you flip that around and you make all of these into what it is you do want. And some of them you might want to combine. And so what you do when you take the first part, which is what you don't want, right? A lot of people focus on what they don't want, and then you flip it also to focus and think about what you do want. And by doing it with this process, you tend not to leave anything out. Now, once you have this list, well, what do you do with it? Okay, well, you use it as part of what you talk to women about. They put, I don't want a party girl. Okay, I don't want a party girl. Okay, well, I don't know what that means. It means you don't want a girl who drinks alcohol at all. You don't want a girl who goes out to bars. You don't want a girl who has a bunch of friends who go out clubbing a lot. I don't know what it means. But, let's say, so in my case, right, I certainly don't mind a party girl. I'm all for it. What I would say is, when I would flip it to make it positive, I would say, I want a girl who has a good social circle and enjoys spending time with her friends, but always has time for me, right? For me, that's what I would say, right? In my case, because I'm totally okay with a party girl, right? So I don't mind if she goes on parties. I don't mind if she goes out with her friends. I think that's great. But I want her to have a good group of friends, and I want her to also make time for me, right? Now, maybe, for example, if I was really, let's say it was a girl who, gets drunk 4 nights a week. Now, I wouldn't be that okay with that. So maybe in another thing, I want a woman who enjoys drinking and enjoys alcohol and always keeps herself under control. I want a woman who enjoys alcohol, knows her limits, and keeps herself under control. Okay, so now I've got the two things that really highlight what it is I'm looking for. A woman who's social and likes to go out and have fun with her friends, always has time for me, doesn't drink too much, right? Great. So now when I'm talking to a woman, I can ask her questions about, her friends and what her and her friends do when they go out together. And I can ask her questions, because she's going to she doesn't know what I'm doing when I'm asking these questions. For her, it's just normal conversation. So she's likely to tell me, like, if she got drunk certain nights or multiple nights. If we're on a first date or something, especially, and I say to her, so you went out with your friends, how was that? And she's going to tell me. I was like, what did you guys have to, did you guys have drinks? Yeah, we had drinks. What did you guys drink? We talk about, it's just normal conversation. It's likely to come out whether she got really drunk. Now, once again, just because she got drunk once doesn't mean she does it 4 times a week. Maybe she does it once a month or something, right? So, once again, it's up to you. You get to decide what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. But what I'm trying to point out is, don't jump to conclusions based on one conversation. What you're doing is you're looking for clues, and you're sort of saying, okay, maybe she might drink more than I'm comfortable with. Now, you don't know that, but you know that it's a possibility. So you want to be sort of, okay, that's kind of something to look out for, right? But it's not something you go, oh my God, she's a lush. Get her out of here. You don't know yet. I mean, you probably don't know yet. I mean, if it's really extreme, you probably would know, but you get my point. And so you can take everything on this list and you can turn it all into talking points, whether it's about, in the example that I gave about going to live music events. So you could talk to her about whether she's been to any and which one she liked. And if she hasn't, why hasn't she been to any? Is she not into music? Was she too busy? Does she not have anyone she can go with? And that's why, you could start to find these things out. And it sounds like just perfectly normal conversation, but it's very directed from your perspective. And it's sort of goal-oriented in the sense that you're trying to get specific information about her. And so this is one of the things that transforms small talk into something more than small talk, because for you, you're not just talking about random things with her, you're talking about specific things so you can try and figure out if she's likely, more or less likely to be the kind of girl that you'd want to be with. So I encourage you to take the time to do this. It normally can take, obviously you can get started immediately writing down the things you don't want. you should probably do that over at least a week or so, and as you think of things, add to the list and start the process. And yeah, so there you go. Use this tool. It'll make it much easier to hold conversations on dates and when you first meet women, and it'll make sure that when you meet a woman who has likely to fit what you're looking for, that you'll identify her and put in the right amount of effort, so that when it's a girl who has more potential, you put in more effort than with a girl who has less potential.